So to draw Lewis structures, recall that the most straightforward way to do this is to first find the total number of valence electrons. So in C2H6, each carbon has 4 valence electrons, and each hydrogen has 1 valence electron. So we have a total of 14 valence electrons. Now, if we know at this point that hydrogen only forms one bond, then we know our carbons are going to have to be connected, and we can place the hydrogens around the outside. None of the hydrogens need any lone pairs, because recall hydrogen only has 2 electrons when it forms bonds. So all of our atoms are happy, they all have an octet, and if we count the electrons, we've used all 14 electrons, and so we're done. With PBr5, this is going to be a little bit more complicated. The reason this is more complicated is we've got a lot more electrons to account for. Each bromine has 7 valence electrons times 5, and phosphorus has 5 valence electrons. So we have a total of 40 valence electrons. So we're going to start by putting our central atom and bonding all 5 bromines to it. So of our 40 electrons, we've now used 10. We have 30 left. From here, we can start filling in the lone pairs. We know that each bromine wants 3 lone pairs. So that's 3 lone pairs times 5 bromines. 15 lone pairs is 30 electrons. So we've used all of our electrons. Each of the bromines is happy. They all have 8 electrons. Now the phosphorus here has 10 electrons. But recall, once we get to the third row, we can go above 8 electrons around an atom. And so our structure here is complete. Finally, for part C, we have methanol, where we have 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, and 1 oxygen. 4 valence electrons for carbon, 1 for each of the hydrogens, and 6 for the oxygen, for a total of 14. As with part A, we know that hydrogens can only have 1 electron, or 1 bond each. So our central piece of the structure is going to be carbon bonded to oxygen. From here, our first step would be to fill in the remaining hydrogens. And the way our formula is drawn even gives us a clue that the carbon gets 3 of them and the oxygen gets 1. So we've drawn in 5 bonds. That accounts for 10 electrons. We're left with 4. The carbon already has an octet. All of the hydrogens have their 1 bond. The only thing that's missing electrons is the oxygen, and we can take care of that by giving it the last 4 electrons. It now has an octet, and so there is our Lewis structure.